The ends justify the means. Machiavelli is a crystal-clear realist who understands the limits and uses of power. Machiavelli's The Prince, still relevant after more than 500 years. Simply a realist or a pragmatist, advocating the suspension of commonplace ethics in matters of politics. Machiavelli simply adopts the stance of a scientist, a kind of Galileo of politics, in distinguishing between the facts of political life and the values of moral judgment. Machiavelli is the supreme satirist, pointing out the foibles of princes and their advisors. Machiavelli's agenda was driven by a desire to trap the prince, by offering carefully crafted advice, such as arming the people, designed to undo the ruler if taken seriously and followed. In the guise of advising princes, Machiavelli was in fact instructing the people how to secure a republic. Machiavelli's audience for this work was not even the ruling class, but the common people, because rulers already knew these methods through their education. Machiavellianism is a term derived almost exclusively from Machiavelli's advice in The Prince. Machiavellianism is associated with the doctrine of moral expediency and deviousness in political actions, the divorce of politics from private morality, and the justification of all political means, even the most unscrupulous, when the interests of the state are at stake. Machiavellianism is generally interpreted as an immoral doctrine, and so is used as a term of reproach and dishonor. Separation of ethics and politics. Machiavelli argued that rulers should not be bound by traditional moral principles when it comes to politics. The ruler's actions should be judged by their effectiveness in achieving and maintaining power, rather than by moral standards. The ends justify the means. One of the most famous ideas associated with Machiavelli is the principle that the ends justify the means. Rulers should be willing to use any means necessary, including deception, manipulation, and even cruelty, to achieve their political goals. Realism. Machiavelli emphasized the importance of understanding the political landscape realistically. He believed that rulers should be pragmatic, and adapt their strategies to the ever-changing circumstances of politics, rather than sticking rigidly to abstract principles. Fortune. Machiavelli acknowledged the role of luck or fortune in political success. While a ruler should be skilled in statecraft, there are external factors beyond one's control. A successful ruler must be able to navigate both skillfully. Fear and love. Machiavelli discussed the tension between being loved and being feared. While it is ideal for a ruler to be both loved and feared, if one must choose, it is often more effective to be feared. Fear can help maintain control and deter challenges. Adaptability. Machiavelli stressed the importance of adaptability and flexibility in politics. Rulers should be able to change their tactics and strategies based on the situation, without being bound by a fixed set of rules. Avoiding being despised. While advocating for the use of fear, Machiavelli also cautioned rulers against being despised by their subjects. It is important to strike a balance and avoid actions that could lead to widespread resentment. Militaristic prudence. Machiavelli placed a strong emphasis on the importance of a strong military. He believed that military strength was crucial for the survival and stability of a state. Niccolò di Bernardo dei Machiavelli was born on May 3, 1469, in Florence, Italy. He was an Italian diplomat, author, philosopher, and historian who lived during the Renaissance. He is best known for his political treatise, The Prince, written around 1513 but not published until 1532, 5 years after his death. He has often been called the father of modern political philosophy and political science. He came from a prominent Florentine family, and his father, Bernardo Machiavelli, was a lawyer. Niccolo received a humanist education that included the study of classical literature, history, and philosophy. This education greatly influenced his later thinking and writing. While not much is known about his early childhood, it is believed that he was a diligent student and developed a passion for learning during his youth.
For many years he served as a senior official in the Florentine Republic, with responsibilities in diplomatic and military affairs. He wrote comedies, carnival songs, and poetry. He worked as secretary to the Second Chancery of the Republic of Florence from 1498 to 1512, when the Medici were out of power. Machiavelli's interests included politics and the study of history, particularly Roman history. He became famous due to his extensive diplomatic service for the Republic of Florence. He was known for his pragmatism and effective diplomatic negotiations. His fame largely stems from his controversial work, The Prince, which he wrote after his release from prison in 1513. In this book, he examines the art of leadership and the pragmatic use of power. His political philosophy is often characterized as Machiavellian, emphasizing realpolitik, the idea that leaders should do whatever is necessary to maintain power and achieve their goals. Niccolò Machiavelli produced several books and writings during his lifetime. Some of his notable works include The Prince. This is his most famous and influential work, written in 1513. It offers advice to rulers on the art of leadership and the pragmatic use of power. The Discourses on Livy. This work, written between 1513 and 1517, explores the virtues of a republic and analyzes the rise and fall of ancient republics, drawing from the historical account of Titus Livius. The Art of War. This book, written around 1521 to 1525, is a treatise on the theory and practice of warfare. The Mandrake. A comedic play written in 1518, it is one of his few works in the genre of literature, rather than political philosophy. These are some of his major works, but he also produced various other writings, letters, and reports during his career as a diplomat and public servant. The Prince and the Discourses on Livy are the most well-known and have had the greatest impact on political thought and philosophy. Machiavelli had experienced political ups and downs during his lifetime. In 1513, The Medici accused him of conspiracy against them and had him imprisoned. Despite being subjected to torture, with the rope in which the prisoner is hanged from his bound wrists from the back, forcing the arms to bear the body's weight and dislocating the shoulders, he denied involvement and was released after 3 weeks. Following his release from prison, he retired from active politics and focused on writing. He wrote some of his most famous works during this period, including The Prince. It's important to note that Machiavelli's ideas in The Prince have been the subject of much debate and interpretation over the centuries, and not everyone agrees on the extent to which Machiavelli intended his advice to be taken literally, or as a commentary on political realities of his time. Some argue that The Prince is a work of satire, or a critique of the political climate of the Renaissance period. Leaders should always mask their true intentions, avoid inconsistency, and frequently act against mercy, against faith, against humanity, against frankness, against religion, in order to preserve the state. Violence may be necessary for the successful stabilization of power and introduction of new political institutions. Force may be used to eliminate political rivals, destroy resistant populations, and purge the community of other men strong enough of a character to rule, who will inevitably attempt to replace the ruler. Immoral and criminal acts by leaders is permissible, to hold onto territory or gain territory. An effective ruler must sometimes be cruel, and the ends justify the means. In the real world with real people, filled with cheats and murderers and thieves, if you wish to obtain power, you will have to lie, cheat, steal, and do everything you can to get to the top. One can make this generalization about men. They are ungrateful, fickle, liars, and deceivers. They shun danger and are greedy for profit. While you treat them well, they are yours. They would shed their blood for you, risk their property, their lives, their children, so long, as I said above, as danger is remote. But when you are in danger, they turn against you. A ruler must be concerned not only with reputation, but also must be positively willing to act unscrupulously at the right times. For a ruler, it was better to be widely feared than to be greatly loved. A loved ruler retains authority by obligation, while a feared leader rules by fear of punishment. As a political theorist, Machiavelli emphasized the necessity for the methodical exercise of brute force or deceit, including extermination of entire noble families, to head off any chance of a challenge to the prince's authority. Man is self-centered and greedy. He works for his own benefit and don't think of the society. Man keeps fighting with each other, whether for food, cloth, shelter, or power. Man is irrational, easily gets attracted towards illusion, and easily gets manipulated. Man desire a lot, irrespective of whether they deserve it or not. Men in general judge more from appearances than from reality. All men have eyes, but few have the gift of penetration. Men are so stupid and concerned with their present needs, they will always let themselves be deceived. He who wishes to be obeyed must know how to command. Never do an enemy a small injury. Make no small plans, for they have no power to stir the soul. One who deceives will always find those who allow themselves to be deceived. Men are driven by two principal impulses, either by love or by fear. The promise given was a necessity of the past. The word broken is a necessity of the present. You must know, then, that there are two methods of fighting, the one by law, the other by force. The first method is that of men, the second of beasts. But as the first method is often insufficient, one must have recourse to the second. One should never fall in the belief that you can find someone to pick you up. Gold will not always get you good soldiers, but good soldiers can get you gold. The wise man should always follow the roads that have been trodden by the great, and imitate those who have most excelled, so that if he cannot reach their perfection, he may at least acquire something of its savor. Men are of three different capacities. One understands intuitively. Another understands so far as it is explained. And a third understands neither of himself nor by explanation. The first is excellent, the second, commendable, and the third, altogether useless. People should either be caressed or crushed. If you do them minor damage, they will get their revenge. But if you cripple them, there is nothing they can do. If you need to injure someone, do it in such a way that you do not have to fear their vengeance. The more sand has escaped from the hourglass of our life, the clearer we should see through it. Ability and perseverance are the weapons of weakness. Impetuosity and audacity often achieve what ordinary means fail to achieve. Men are so simple of mind, and so much dominated by their immediate needs, that a deceitful man will always find plenty who are ready to be deceived. A wise ruler should rely on what is under his own control, not on what is under the control of others. God is not willing to do everything, and thus take away our free will and that share of glory which belongs to us. It is better to act and repent than not to act and regret. Power is the pivot on which everything hinges. He who has the power is always right. The weaker is always wrong. Always assume incompetence before looking for conspiracy. Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are. The lion cannot protect himself from traps, and the fox cannot defend himself from wolves. One must therefore be a fox to recognize traps, and a lion to frighten wolves. A government which does not trust its citizens to be armed is not itself to be trusted. The first method for estimating the intelligence of a ruler is to look at the men he has around him. Women are the most charitable creatures and the most troublesome. He who shuns women passes up the trouble, but also the benefits. He who puts up with them gains the benefits, but also the trouble. As the saying goes, there's no honey without bees. There is nothing more important than appearing to be religious. The wise man does at once what the fool does finally. The unarmed man is not just defenseless, he is also contemptible. The state is not an organism capable of bringing either moral or material improvements to the populace, but merely a vehicle of power for the men and party in power. Everyone who wants to know what will happen, or to examine what has happened, everything in this world, in any epoch, has their replicas in antiquity. It is double pleasure to deceive the deceiver. There is nothing as likely to succeed as what the enemy believes you cannot attempt. Entrepreneurs are simply those who understand that there is little difference between obstacle and opportunity, and are able to turn both to their advantage. There is no other way to guard yourself against flattery than by making men understand that telling you the truth will not offend you, Hatred is gained as much by good works as by evil. Where the willingness is great, the difficulties cannot be great. Whosoever desires constant success must change his conduct with the times. It is not titles that honor men, but men that honor titles. A battle that you win cancels any other bad action of yours. In the same way, by losing one, all the good things worked by you before become vain. He who builds on the people builds on the mud. The people desire nothing more than to be led. Few men are brave by nature, but good discipline and experience make many so. I'm not interested in preserving the status quo. I want to overthrow it. Fear is secured by a dread of punishment. Minds are of three kinds. One is capable of thinking for itself. Another is able to understand the thinking of others. And a third can neither think for itself nor understand the thinking of others. The first is of the highest excellence, the second is excellent, and the third is worthless. Men never do good, unless necessity drives them to it. But when they are free to choose, and can do just as they please, confusion and disorder become rampant. Men sooner forget the death of their father than the loss of their patrimony. Any man who tries to be good all the time is bound to come to ruin among the great number who are not good. For the mob is always impressed by appearances, and by results, and the world is composed of the mob. It is often found that modesty and humility not only do no good, but are positively hurtful when they are shown to the arrogant who have taken up a prejudice against you, either from envy or from any other cause. A prince never lacks legitimate reasons to break his promise. Change has no constituency. Whoever is the cause of another becoming powerful is ruined himself. There is simply no comparison between a man who is armed and one who is not. It is simply unreasonable to expect that an armed man should obey one who is unarmed, or that an unarmed man should remain safe and secure when his servants are armed. When neither their property nor their honor is touched, the majority of men live content. In war, discipline can do more than fury. Results are often obtained by impetuosity and daring, which could never have been obtained by ordinary methods. Men generally decide upon a middle course, which is most hazardous, for they know neither how to be entirely good nor entirely bad. Benefits should be conferred gradually, and in that way they will taste better. One must consider the final result. For, in truth, there is no sure way of holding other than by destroying. Men rise from one ambition to another. First, they seek to secure themselves against attack, and then they attack others. He who makes war his profession cannot be otherwise than vicious. War makes thieves, and peace brings them to the gallows. Tardiness often robs us opportunity and the dispatch of our forces. A man who is used to acting in one way never changes. He must come to ruin when the times, in changing, no longer are in harmony with his ways. Men are always wicked at bottom, unless they are made good by some compulsion. He who becomes a prince through the favor of the people should always keep on good terms with them, which it is easy for him to do, since all they ask is not to be oppressed. It is necessary that the prince should know how to color his nature well, and how to be a hypocrite and dissembler. For men are so simple, and yield so much to immediate necessity, that the deceiver will never lack dupes. There should be many judges, for few will always do the will of few. Therefore, it is unnecessary for a prince to have all the good qualities I have enumerated, but it is very necessary to appear to have them. The best fortress which a prince can possess is the affection of his people. If the chief party, whether it be the people, or the army, or the nobility, which you think most useful and of most consequence to you for the conservation of your dignity, be corrupt, you must follow their humor and indulge them, and in that case honesty and virtue are pernicious. Good order makes men bold, and confusion, cowards. A wise ruler ought never to keep faith, when by doing so it would be against his interests. Nothing is so unhealthy or unstable as the reputation for power that is not based on one's own power. War is just when it is necessary. Arms are permissible when there is no hope except in arms. Never lead your soldiers to battle if you have not first confirmed their spirit, and known them to be without fear and ordered. And never test them, except when you see that they hope to win. When settling disputes between his subjects, he should ensure that his judgment is irrevocable, and he should be so regarded that no one ever dreams of trying to deceive or trick him. Decide which is the line of conduct that presents the fewest drawbacks, and then follow it out as being the best one. Because one never finds anything perfectly pure and unmixed, or exempt from danger. Men are more ready to offend one who desires to be beloved, than one who wishes to be feared. Princes and governments are far more dangerous than other elements within society. There is nothing more difficult to take in hand, more perilous to conduct, or more uncertain in its success, than to take the lead in the introduction of a new order of things. Whoever takes it upon himself to establish a commonwealth and prescribe laws must presuppose all men naturally bad, and that they will yield to their innate evil passions, as often as they can do so with safety. The nature of man is such that people consider themselves put under an obligation as much by the benefits they confer as by those they receive. He who has annexed them, if he wishes to hold them, has only to bear in mind two considerations. The one, that the family of their former lord is extinguished. The other, that neither their laws nor their taxes are altered, so that in a very short time they will become entirely one body with the old principality. I say that every prince must desire to be considered merciful, and not cruel. He must, however, take care not to misuse this mercifulness. The reformer has enemies in all who profit by the old order, and only lukewarm defenders in all those who would profit by the new order. The princes, who have done great things, are the ones who have taken little account of their promises. God and nature have thrown all human fortunes into the midst of mankind, and they are thus attainable rather by rapine than by industry, by wicked actions rather than by good. Hence it is that men feed upon each other, and those who cannot defend themselves must be worried. And here one must note that hatred is acquired, just as much by means of good actions as by bad ones. And so, as I said above, if a prince wishes to maintain the state, he is often obliged not to be good. Because whenever that group which you believe you need to support you is corrupted, whether it be the common people, the soldiers, or the nobles, it is to your advantage to follow their inclinations in order to satisfy them, and then good actions are your enemy. One should never allow chaos to develop in order to avoid going to war. Because one does not avoid a war, but instead puts it off to his disadvantage. The greatest remedy that is used against a plan of the enemy is to do voluntarily what he plans that you do by force. States that rise quickly, just as all the other things of nature that are born and grow rapidly, cannot have roots and ramifications. The first bad weather kills them. Besides what has been said, people are fickle by nature, and it is as simple to convince them of something but difficult to hold them in that conviction. And, therefore, affairs should be managed in such a way that when they no longer believe, they can be made to believe by force. For whoever conquers a free town, and does not demolish it, commits a great error, and may expect to be ruined himself. The prince who relies upon their words, without having otherwise provided for his security, is ruined. For friendships that are won by awards, and not by greatness and nobility of soul, although deserved, yet are not real, and cannot be depended upon in time of adversity. When men receive favors from someone they expected to do them ill, they are under a greater obligation to their benefactor. Good order and discipline in any army are to be depended upon more than courage alone. War should be the only study of a prince. He should consider peace only as a breathing time, which gives him leisure to contrive and furnishes his ability to execute military plans. That prince is highly esteemed who conveys this impression of himself, and he who is highly esteemed is not easily conspired against. For, provided it is well known that he is an excellent man, and revered by his people, he can only be attacked with difficulty. The main foundations of every state, new states as well as ancient or composite ones, are good laws and good arms. You cannot have good laws without good arms. And where there are good arms, good laws inevitably follow. Nothing is of greater importance in time of war than in knowing how to make the best use of a fair opportunity when it is offered. A prince must not have any other object nor any other thought but war, its institutions, and its discipline, because that is the only art befitting one who commands. Every little advantage is of great moment when men have to come to blows. I believe that it is possible for one to praise, without concern, any man after he is dead, since every reason and supervision for adulation is lacking. It cannot be called ingenuity to kill one's fellow citizens, to betray friends, to be without faith, without mercy, without religion. By these means one can acquire power, but not glory. And if, to be sure, sometimes you need to conceal a fact with words, do it in such a way that it does not become known, or, if it does become known, that you have a ready and quick defense. In conclusion, the arms of others either fall from your back, or they weigh you down, or they bind you fast. Whoever desires to found a state and give it laws must start with assuming that all men are bad and ever ready to display their vicious nature whenever they may find occasion for it. You must never believe that the enemy does not know how to conduct his own affairs. Indeed, if you want to be deceived less and want to bear less danger, the more the enemy is weak, or the less the enemy is cautious, so much more must you esteem him. Human beings remain constant in their methods of conduct. For as laws are necessary that good manners be preserved, so there is need of good manners, that law may be maintained. When they remain in garrison, soldiers are maintained with fear and punishment. When they are then led to war, with hope and reward. Without doubt, ferocious and disordered men are much weaker than timid and ordered ones. For order chases fear from men, and disorder lessens ferocity. It is the duty of a man of honor to teach others the good which he has not been able to do himself because of the malignity of the times, that this good finally can be done by another more loved in heaven. It is a base thing to look to others for your defense instead of depending upon yourself. That defense alone is effectual, sure, and durable, which depends upon yourself and your own valor. Sometimes, it has been of great moment while the fight is going on, to disseminate words that pronounce the enemy's captain to be dead, or to have been conquered by another part of the army. Many times this has given victory to him who used it. For a prince should have two fears. One, internal concerning his subjects. The other, external, concerning foreign powers. From the latter, He can always defend himself by his good troops and friends. And he will always have good friends. If he has good troops. For one change always leaves a dovetail into which another will fit. All who contribute to the overthrow of religion, or to the ruin of kingdoms and commonwealths, all who are foes to letters, and to the arts which confer honor and benefit on the human race, among whom I reckon the impious, the cruel, the ignorant, the indolent, the base and the worthless, are held in infamy and detestation. And truly, it is a very natural and ordinary thing to desire to acquire. And always, when men do it who can, they will be praised or not blamed. But when they cannot and wish to do it anyway, here lies the error and the blame. Machiavelli's writings have had a profound and lasting impact on political philosophy and leadership. His name is often associated with cunning and manipulation in politics. Machiavelli's ideas continue to be relevant today in the fields of politics, leadership, and ethics. Leaders throughout history have been influenced by Machiavellian principles, though often in a controversial and debated manner. Notable figures such as Thomas Jefferson and Bismarck were influenced by Machiavelli's writings. His work has sparked debates and discussions on the morality of political actions and the role of leadership in society. Niccolò Machiavelli died on June 21, 1527, in Florence, Italy. He passed away at the age of 58. His death was not a result of violence or assassination, as some might expect given his association with political intrigue. but rather due to natural causes. He died peacefully at his home in San Casciano, in Val di Pesa, near Florence, and was buried in the family tomb. Machiavelli's contributions to political thought have continued to be studied and debated long after his death, and he remains a significant figure in the history of political philosophy. Machiavelli's death occurred during a turbulent time in Florence's history. In 1527, the Medici family was once again expelled from the city, and a republican government was briefly reinstated. However, Machiavelli did not live to witness these events.